this video I'm gonna guide you through how I made this cute mushroom here using only one texture. It's a workflow called gradient texturing, and it's a lot easier and faster than the more regular workflows like PBR or hand painting texturing. I personally have been using that for my indie game and also for Piloto Studio asset packs and Unity asset store. In this video I'm gonna show you the whole process from creating the gradient textures to modeling and the UVing part. So the first thing you want to do is open Photoshop or any 2D tool of your preference. In my case, I brought the concept art that I'm using inside Photoshop. That way I can pick the colors more easily, but that's optional. You can just choose whatever colors you want. So the first thing you notice is my Photoshop is all in Portuguese, but I think you can follow me along. So first tool I'm gonna use is this little rectangle here, and I'm gonna draw a shape. I'm gonna go over to here and choose gradient. Now it's filled up with a gradient, and I can double click here on the layers. I can choose the colors. So since I have the concept here, I'm just gonna pick the colors from my little mushroom. Something that not everyone does, but I think it makes the color a lot richer. Like choose a color to be on the middle of it. What I'm actually gonna do is choose one color that is closer to red, and then I can adjust my gradient so I can have darker colors. And also I'll do the opposite on the other side so I can have a bit of a less saturated color. So to do the second one, I'm just gonna duplicate this one and I'm gonna offset it a little bit. I want my mushroom to be on top of everything. I'm gonna double click my new gradient and then choose my new colors. And I'll do this for every color here on my concept. Now, before I start texturing, I'll make a simple version of the mushroom. And there's not much difference from regular modeling when it comes to like texturing with gradient. The only thing that I think matters is to keep the topology clean, because that helps a lot when you're texturing after. Okay, so now I'm have the model ready. Actually, I could work a little bit more on that, but it would be more than enough to show you how the gradient texturing work. So I'm just hide this thing right here because I don't need it anymore. And I'm gonna set the blender up so I can work a little bit better with gradient. And that's the way I prefer to set it up. So first thing, I'm just gonna bring the viewport shading panel here, and I'm gonna change the lighting to flat and the color to texture. And now I'm gonna bring the texture that I made inside Photoshop to here, and now apply to all of the models. And I'm gonna bring the UV editor panel also, and I'm gonna see my gradient in here. So what I'm doing now is on this panel right here, I'm gonna use so I can view how my model is looking, like how the texture is looking. And in here, I'm gonna change the color to texture, but I'll keep the lighting in studio just so I can have a better, I can understand better the depth of the model. I prefer doing that way. So okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is select everything and come over to the axis view, and I'm select everything, hit U and project from view. So right now I'm gonna have a projection from my camera here, and I can position my UVs on the texture I want. So the first one I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna keep them here, and I'm gonna start with the top. I'm just gonna make a UV seam here just so it's easier for me to select, and I'm gonna change to UV selection, and I can hit L so I can select all of the top at the same time. Right now I can come over and bring that to the color I want. Now I'm gonna make my white dots here, and it's already in a good position. I'm just gonna scale in the y-axis. So and actually maybe what I'm gonna do is try and put them all kind of in the same place, just so they have a lining that's a little bit more similar, or they are gonna look too different. I still haven't applied all of the modifiers here, so because of that, I'll have to, right now I'm just blocking the colors, and that's the way I prefer doing. Just start by blocking the colors, and after that I'll apply the modifiers, and I can come over again and fix the parts that I think that they are not working. And now I think that was the right one. Yeah, I think I kept that a little bit too bright. It is kind of bright in the concept I'm using, but I still don't like that. So I'm probably gonna fix that inside Photoshop after. Still, what I'm gonna do is, now that I blocked this, I'm actually gonna finish blocking. I'm gonna bring this over here. I think actually I placed in the wrong place. This should be here. And I don't love it actually, this color also, because I don't have much shadows. And even though it looks like the concept, I don't feel like it's the right color for this. This should be somewhere this and this. I'm gonna bring it over to here. It's a real dark color. The mouth is the same, so I'm gonna just select the mouth, and I'm gonna bring it over here also. Perfect. Now what I'm gonna do is, this one I don't really need to apply any subdivision, any modifiers, because it's just mirror and subdivision. So mirror makes my life easier, and subdivision it doesn't affect that much. So I prefer to keep that unapplied. So right now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select these edges, the ones that are touching the mushroom, because that way I can add some ambient occlusion so it works a little bit better. Okay, so here in the mouth, I'm gonna do the same. I'm gonna do a little bit of a shadow. The thing for gradient texturing is what you want to do, and the kind of options you have is between making things smooth or like hard edges. And the way to do that in Blender is if you select something with as edges, you'll be able to just offset it a little bit, and you're gonna have some lighting there. And that's the way that we fake some depth to the model and some lighting. And that's what you want to do to actually make the texture more consistent and not look that flat. You can see at the beginning when I just added the textures, the UVs to the texture, it looked real flat. But as I add some shadows and I add some lighting, it starts to look better with time. And usually it's not that much time. It's something you can do very quickly. And the way I usually do for lighting is you have a couple of tools inside Blender that can help you with that. And that is, you can just select something that is facing like upwards, and you can come to select similar and hit normal, and you just change the threshold a little bit. To change that, until Blender select most of the faces that are facing upward. So that should be okay. And right now I'm gonna, since I'm already selecting all of the faces that are facing upwards, now I can make a real quick lighting here. I'm just gonna have to offset that a little bit, and then I'm gonna hit Control plus, and I'm gonna do that again. I like that for everything, but not for this part, because I actually love the way the transition looks. So I kind of want the transition to stay here. I don't want the lighting to be that strong in here. What I'm gonna do is make it a little bit more local, more just in a couple of places. But you can see that it's real easy to have results with this method, because we're not actually texturing as in Substance Painter or something. So it's real easy to, if you don't like something, you can fix that very easily. What I'm gonna do probably is I'm gonna just duplicate this, and I'm gonna hit unsubdivide. Let's see if I can. And yeah, sadly this happens. But I like the transition better, but I think I can solve that right here, and I'm gonna have a better time. Yeah, I think that way looks a lot better. And I can even do the opposite. Let's see how it looks if we do the opposite. Let's select a face that is facing down now, and I'm gonna select similar and select normal. I'm gonna just change a little bit the threshold, and I'm gonna do the opposite now. Let's see how it looks. I like that. I just don't like that some faces are going out of the UVs, so it doesn't look right. So I'm just gonna fix these, and I should be good. Then the only place that I miss some shadows is here, so I'm just gonna, just so I don't affect this one while I'm doing this, I'm just gonna isolate this. So I'm just selecting this, and I'm pressing Shift 8, and now I have only this, and I'm not gonna affect the other part of the UVs. Perfect. Yeah, as I said, this gradient should have a little bit more contrast, but it looks okay enough. And this shouldn't have that much contrast on the other side, so I'm just gonna, making it have less contrast, you can solve that inside Blender, because it's just a matter of scaling it on the y-axis, because like that you're gonna have a lot of contrast, and like that you're gonna have less contrast. So it's easier to solve this inside Blender. But if you don't have enough contrast in all of your gradient, you're gonna have to bring that over to Photoshop again and fix that. Yeah, I feel like this is a little bit too red. Actually, I wanted it to be a little bit more less saturated, and I'm just gonna do the same to the mouths. And that's something you can do when you're already separated. I'm selecting everything with the L. I'm just pressing L so I can select everything that is linked by something. And right here you can select should Blender consider it when selecting this. So you can select by seam, and that's the thing I use to select the top part of the mushroom. But you can also select the UVs. That's a lot useful when you already separated everything and you just want to select a specific part. Okay, so the last part, it's I'm gonna add the tails for the this bottom part of the top part of the mushroom. So the way I'm gonna do is they have some lines there, and we can do that on different ways. I'm actually the way I'm gonna do it is just for like so we can I can teach you something else is I'm gonna just offset that a little bit, pressing like GG 2 times, and just so I have more space here, because I don't like everything to be when it comes to gradient. I like to keep things more spaced out because I don't feel like it works to have both a simple texture and too many details in a small space, because I feel like it looks like actually a problem and not like it was you made on purpose. So if you want to make on purpose, I feel like it's better to just make things bigger actually. To make this shadow, I would have to like do this here. The shadow will go just until the next loop. So I'll have to do the same for the next loop, and I'll have to do this 3 or 4 times. So if I don't have the subdivision surface applied, that makes my life a lot easier in this kind of situation. So you want to apply after you have at least a good enough shadow and a good enough lighting in place already. And then you're gonna go into more detailed parts, and you don't need that, you don't need the shadow and lighting to be that easy, because you don't want, at least for now, to change a lot. So that's basically what I'm taking into account to do that. So right now I'm gonna make those little outlines that separated this bottom part of the top of the mushroom to the rest, and these little lines here also. So what I'm gonna start doing is I'm gonna select 3 of these, I think. And I think what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna keep this, and I'm gonna delete so just 2 from my selection. Yeah, but that doesn't really work, I think. Well, let's see if it works. Yeah, it does not. So I think we can go with 3, maybe. I think it's gonna look even better because we're gonna have more space in between our lines, and that's not gonna look too much detail in one place. So yeah, I think that might look better. So I've just selected the edges where I'm gonna add these details, and I'm gonna bevel these edges. And if I go to the face selection, I can just offset it a little bit, and I'm gonna have some lines here. Let's see if how it looks. Yeah, I think it should go a little bit more deeper here. I'm gonna just undo, and I'm gonna do until here probably, and I think that would be better. Let's see now. And I think we don't actually might not need the center one. Yeah, I think that looks a lot better. Perfect. And now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select all of this bottom part, and I want to separate the colors also to be a little bit different. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, maybe like that. I'm just gonna make the top a little bit more red, just so I don't know. I feel like a mushroom should have more red than this yellow lighting color, so I feel like it worked better. And then I'm gonna just fix these small parts that were clipping because of I just added a little bit for the texturing, and so I'm just fixing this. Yeah, and as I mentioned, I didn't like this part, so I can fix that right now that I already applied the subdivision. So I'm just gonna make this little cut here so I don't lose the shape of the face. And I can click on both of them and just scale a little bit so they come a little bit closer to where they should be. I'm gonna do the same for this because I feel like this kind of bevel should look a little bit more consistent. And also, just so it looks a little bit more like the shape of the mouth from my reference, I'm just gonna make this part a little bit more round and more, well, I don't know, it was a little bit too big. Perfect. There are some things here that I could fix, and there's something, just small thing that I'm gonna do, that is just gonna edit this a little bit so it's a little bit more like this, because I feel like it can become a little more interesting that way. And I'm gonna actually go to Photoshop so I can maybe fix this color. Let's see what we can do here. So here we have it. And what I'm gonna try doing, and I think like instantly is not gonna look good, so I have to fix something. My reference, it's really a lot more to the white. Gonna make this a little bit more less saturated, and maybe be a little bit warmer, actually colder. So I don't know. Let's see. Okay, so right now what we can do is just fixing this a little bit. And I feel like it is instantly looks a lot better. I feel like this gradient works a lot better than the other one because this has more shadows and it's a more interesting gradient in general. So I think that was the right decision. By the way, hitting Control plus and Control minus is like your best friend for doing lighting and shadows in a smooth way. I feel like this is detailed enough for me. There are definitely some things that I could fix, like this parts right here, but I think I already made my point. So the point of this video is just to teach. Anyway, yeah. So let's see how the final result will look like inside Unity. This is our final result in Unity. Thank you for joining me in this tutorial. If you like, don't forget to hit the like button. And if you have any question, please leave a comment below and I'll make sure to answer it. Thank you for joining me in this video and see you in the next one.